a member of the West Star class of 2012, better known as the Dream Team. Alderman Timberlake has agreed to interview with me for our class project, A Leadership Legacy Story. Uh, I'd like to ask, what do you feel influenced your success as a person and a community leader, Mr. Ed?
The biggest thing that influenced me all my life was Boy Scouting, really. And what it is, it comes from the Scout Oath. And that's basically, on my honor, I'll do my best to do my duty to God and country and to obey the Scout laws. The next statement, to help other people at all times. That's the main statement in it to me, and it's what I strive to do my whole career.
Okay. What would you like to describe some changes that you have seen in our community since you got here?
I think the best thing really would be to make a comparison here, and that is when I first moved here in October of 1968, we crossed the square coming from Brownsville, and the courthouse as we know it now really didn't exist. It was there, but it didn't look like it. It was painted gray. The paint was peeling off. Stores were had burned on the square. Everything was just what we'd call this day and time run down. And then to see it today, it's unreal what's happened.
We've had a lot of changes over the
We
years,
certainly
that's for sure. If you could list only one event that has happened in our community that has made us very successful, what would that be, and what kind of impact do you feel it had on our community?
That's an easy one to me because ever since I've been here with 40-something years now, ever since I've been here, the one thing that stands out more than anything else is Project Play. And that's where the community itself came together and did all the work on it, just about, and built Project Play from scratch in the park. It's a rare occasion that you see people like that of all ages working together to accomplish something. And what's made it so good really is the fact that when everybody chipped in and worked hard together to do it, now they're taking care of it. I don't know whether you want to hit it at this point really, but what was one of the most challenging points to me was when they called me one night and said that Project Play is on fire. And we went up there, and I'll have to admit, I don't cry too many times, but tears were in my eyes, and everybody was just standing there and could not believe it. But that whole playground was on fire all at once. We had thought we had bought material that was fireproof, but we found out that actually what it ended up being was fire caused fire. Once it got started, it just made it bigger and bigger and bigger. But what was unreal for people to stand there and look, and they had worked so hard to build that project, that playground and everything, to see it just go away, go away. And then I don't know where you want to hit it right now, but we'll come right behind it. And one of the most challenging things that happened, I think, when it happened, everybody was ready to go at it and put it back. And what they wanted to do even was go back and put it back better than it was the first time. And that's what happened really. They went back and took better material and everything, and I was just there yesterday with two of my grandchildren. They were playing over there, and it's really something to look at it. The thing that really surprised me or looks so good to me today is when you go over there and look at it right now, you don't see trash. You see cleaned up. You don't see graffiti. You don't see people breaking things and damaging things very often. They're taking care of it for a change. And that's what the whole idea, and that's what comes back really when we have Clean Up, Fix Up Covington once a year. That's the whole idea. Everybody has gotten into that cycle of doing better and doing things better and taking care of things. And I think that's one of the biggest things in Covington that's made it what it has. It's really great. You get people coming, and I had a cousin from Gallatin come over here, and they had worked in athletics all of his life. And they came visiting all the rural towns in the state. And when they came out to see us, we didn't even know they were coming. But they came by, and one thing they said was that Covington looks better than any place they had been as far as what it had come from. and where it was going. You see people talking about some of the cities in Middle Tennessee being so outstanding and everything, but they said that this was just unreal to see the change that's been made. And when the thing is, it doesn't stop. It's just a continuous add to this, add to that, do more, constantly.
I kind of agree. This is one of the events that has moved our community forward as a whole. I know my being able to allow to volunteer on this project allows you to feel ownership of something and bonded to other cities, other people in our city, and I appreciate that for this project. It's made a real change in my life. I now have a job with the city and such. So what do you want to accomplish with the rest of your life for our community? What kind of family legacy has been established with you?
You know, when you talk about, are you talking about family legacy? Me here?
Just your family legacy from the
My
beginning.
family legacy from the beginning. Well, I shall never forget, 17 years ago, last Christmas, my mother, everybody came home Christmas from all over the country. Everybody, that's where you ended up on Christmas Eve. And Christmas Day, we were opening presents and everything, and she turned around and asked everybody one thing, just the more senior crew, I'll put it that way, like me, you know, when are you gonna retire? And I told her at that time, I said, when I can get full annuities, when I'm fully gained my retirement. And she looked me right in the eye and she said, don't ever think about it again. Do it. She said, it's time that you paid back to your community. And what she was saying is that the jobs that I had kept me busy usually. Well, I did scout work and things like that, but you stayed real busy with it and didn't have time to really stop, think, listen, and do something about things. So that really, what happened to me was, I did what she said when the time came, January of 94? No, September of 94 was when I retired, and I ran for public office that next spring, and I've been in public office ever since then, doing the one thing, and I've approached it from the standpoint of not what I can get out of it, but what can I give to it. We've seen things happen in Covenant. It's unreal. Covenant Economic Development Corporation has been formed. What do? Most people don't know. A lot of people don't know, but what do? They have one thing in mind. What can we do to economically help the city of Covey and not toot our horn, be on the sideline? And this is the type thing, this is what's caused things like the square in Covington to be redone. That's where the music on the square that's going on right now comes from, really. That's where all these type things constantly are renewal things that are happening. And to see the merchants downtown at this point, in the last 2 or 3 years, how they've they pull together to get things done. And they accomplish so much more when you do it as a group than when you try to do it what's best for me. Instead, doing what's best for the whole community. And that's made a great big difference, I think. I learned the hard way. Like, go back to my mother one more time. She was what we called at the time a welfare worker, part of public welfare. But what they did at that time, and they still do, I guess, but they dealt with women that were pregnant, weren't married, didn't have anywhere to go. And back then, there weren't places like Carl Perkins to go to. And I shall never forget that the whole time I was growing up in grammar school and high school, we had unwed mothers staying in our home in the guest room for nothing. But it was always help other people at all times. This was the whole idea, and it came all the way from my grandfather, my great-grandfather, at the time, way back in the turn of the century, last century now, oh boy. Farmers had nowhere to borrow money in Henderson County where I live. And what he did, he was a president of another bank, and he gave up that job and started another bank just to help rural people. And that's the type of thing that it takes really to get things done. You gotta have some people willing to go the extra mile. And this is as good a time as any to say it, what's so important. The one thing I learned out of that last 8 years that I worked, I was an administrative judge. And I learned what is so important. You've got one mouth and two ears. Use the two ears. In other words, listen. If people have a problem, so many times people come to me now and they have a problem. And if I'll just take the time to listen to them, you can nearly always do a little something at least. And you may not be able to take care of everything by a long shot. But if you listen, they are satisfied.
They feel like they've been helped in
That's
some
right.
kind of manner.
That's right.
As you look back, is there anything that you wish that you had accomplished that you didn't get to do now looking back?
Yep. There's one thing that really bothered me. You know, when I first moved here, 2 months later, I took over the scout troop, or one of the scout troops, Troop 62 that we had here. And that troop really flourished and did well, and we had usually 30-something boys in it and everything. And the thing is, when my job moved to Middle Tennessee, and when it moved, it worried me because how were we going to keep the troop functioning and all? And that's the one thing that didn't get done when I moved. When I went to Lawrenceburg, Tennessee, I worked with scouting up there and everything, but I could never get that troop going again, and to have it lost. And the thing is, we've got several Eagle Scouts in town.
We do.
And from that troop. And of course, the thing is, it's funny now when you look at them, they're those old gray-haired people too. But it's unreal to see what they're doing for their community now. And it makes it worthwhile, but it hurt because you hated to lose something you'd worked so hard for at the time. But it happens.
It does. Well, I would like to thank you very much for agreeing to allow me to interview you, and I know that you will agree with our challenge of if you'll just treat other people as you would like to be treated and enhance the quality of life, and sometimes by doing that, listening, you'll make a huge difference for everybody in the community. And once again, thank you very much, Mr. Ed.
Thank you.